forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know send me a figure flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi hide like a thief in the night. Me I fi get out of sight. Me I fi take away myself. I fi take away myself. I have to utilize I wings. Shorty I cleave her eyes. I said, yeah. I find you very hard to resist. But this relationship I'm gonna desist. But how can I face you when all I wanna do is just taste you? I know you think I play me, I play. But soon you're gonna see the light of day. Just relax, don't move an inch. I'll be gone in a pinch. May I feel take away myself. May I feel take away myself. May I feel hide like a thief in the night. May I feel get out of sight. May I feel take away myself. Take away myself. I have to utilize I will.
Welcome to another Real Stuff podcast. This is yours truly, Franco, along with Flavius in Jamaica.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, Franco.
Morning. This morning we have a very important guest, Dr. Susan Otuokon, Executive Director of Jamaica Conservation and Development Trust. For those of you who have seen this morning outgoing flyer, if you're looking carefully or you zoom it up, you will see a type error. Please accept my apology. And if Dr. Suzanne is listening, my humble apology as well. Later on, we're going to be bringing in Dr. Susan, and she's going to be talking to us about the Blue and the John Crow Mountains. And Flavius have some very important, what you call it, did you know this morning, right?
Yes.
But seem like I can hear you making, cooking up breakfast there in the background.
Breakfast is ready. My blue mountain is to go.
I am drinking ginger, turmeric, and lemon tea this morning. But in the meantime, I'm gonna.
Because I had ginger and lemongrass yesterday.
Ooh wee. So
Yeah.
just to mellow out your mood this morning, whatever tea you're having, your favorite drink or your favorite tea, I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to give you some smooth jazz once again from the two legendary artists, a matter of fact, Mr. Ernest Ranglin and Miss Pam Hall.
All the wonderful things that you get out of life, there are four. Baby, and that may not be many, but nobody needs more. Of the many facts making the list of life, truth takes the lead. And to relax, knowing the gist of life, it's truth you need. And the second is honor, and happiness makes number three. When you put them together, you know what the last one must be. Baby, so it's truth, honor, and happiness. And one thing more, meaning only wonderful love that will make it four. you get out of right there are four. Baby, and that may not be many, but nobody needs more of the many facts making the list of life. Truth takes the lead, and to relax, knowing the gist of life is truth you need. And the second is honor, and happiness makes number three. When you put them together, you know what the last one must be. Baby, so it's truth, honor, and happiness. And one thing more, meaning only wonderful, wonderful love that will make it four. 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 I love you. Arms the April breeze. I love you. Echo the hills. I love you. The golden dawn agrees. As once more she sees daffodils. It's spring again, and birds on the wing again start to sing again the old melody. I love you. That's the song of songs, and it all belongs to you and me. It's spring again, and birds on the wing again start to sing again the old melody. I love you. That's the song of songs, and it all belongs to you.
The mellow voice of Miss Pam Hall. Flavius, oh, he's Jamaica this morning. What's like in your neck of the woods?
I am seeing sunshine. It was a bit cloudy yesterday, but today it started out very, very shiny, very, very shiny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting warm. We're getting warm again. You know, getting back warm.
Okay.
And let me just say hello to all my neighbors in the lockdown zone of Another Bay, Enfield, and Dover. We still have a few more days to go. So just stick with it, folks. Stick with it. Stay with it. No market, but I send hello to the market vendors, although there is no market for now. And then we have the supermarket folks and the New Millennium Pharmacy, hospital, health center. All of these people working hard, working overtime for us to keep us safe. All police and every soldiers and everyone, And a special hello to Charlestown Maroons. Keep it safe. And of course, the town of Port Anthony, very special place. And a big shout out to the big man in Port Anthony, Jati, the reggae ambassador. And then, of course, we have relatives in St. Catherine, and they were moved down to Barbados, Trinidad, St. Lucia, Antigua, all those areas. Hello, good morning. Okay, today we're going to have a very, very special guest from the JCDT. It's a agency of government that manages the Blue and Jonker Mountain National Park and World Heritage Site. So we're having Dr. Susan Otuokon, the Executive Director. And let me just read this thing about the World Heritage Site. The core preservation zone of the Blue and Jonker Mountain National Park was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List on 3rd of July 2015. So we are pretty new there, confirming the outstanding universal value of the site's cultural and natural heritage. Let me just read it again. The core preservation zone of the Blue and Jonker Mountains National Park was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List on the 3rd of July 2015, confirming the outstanding universal value of the site's cultural and natural heritage and making it one of only 39 mixed World Heritage sites and the first in the Caribbean. So out of all these many heritage sites, you only have 39 with more than one inscription, and we are part of that. We should be very proud of that. The rugged landscape, lush forests, and cascading streams with rich biodiversity provided all the windward maroons needed to establish their cultural and wage a successful guerrilla warfare to secure their freedom and sovereignty from guess who? The British. So that is it for this morning as far as did you know? So now you know that we have a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And you also know it was on the 3rd of July, 2015, and it's one of only 39 UNESCO World Heritage Sites that was inscribed for more than one thing. We have all the flora and fauna, birds and all that, but we also have the culture of the Maroons. Thank you.
So in case you never know, now you know.
Oh yes,
yes. What did you know? Flavius.
And then Dr. Otuokon, she gonna come now and expound on all of this and tell us in detail what is this all about and all that.
True.
And we ask you to text in your questions, to her, or you go in the chat box, and we see how best we can answer these questions when they arise.
True, true,
But I
true,
know
true.
that she will be telling us everything because she has been involved and deeply involved in this whole thing for a very, very long time.
Mhm.
As a part of Jamaica, a lot of people don't really know because it's the hills and the mountains or whatever. But for some of us who have actually been through there, we can tell you that it is wonderful. The views are out of this world.
True, man. That's
I
true.
we have, I think we have some of them scrolling on the YouTube channel as we speak. So take a look, and know that is what obtains now in Jamaica.
community members when they say, but we don't have anything to offer. We just a little simple place. The road is bad. I say, listen, just put some breadfruit on the fire and some yam, some dasheen, and some of your produce, your fresh produce, fruits, and people will be so happy. Go to the river. They have so many. There are many, many rivers and streams in this area. And nowadays, people really need more place to relax, to unwind, the importance of that in terms of our mental and emotional. We need to get out. We need to get outdoors and just be in nature, eat good food that people talk about slow food rather than fast food.
Yes.
And people are not able to, people don't have the time, people don't have the space to do that traditional cooking with all the preparation. So that is definitely something that these communities can offer and do so well, and they have great hospitality. And then on top of that, it combines recreation and tourism with agriculture, because it gives them the opportunity. So we're not saying that people must come out of farming. In fact, they're going to need more farming, more agriculture, in order to provide. It's just a matter, food security, and so that people can realize they can go to these places, have a lovely day out, and take food back into town.
I thought just came to me that it could be leveraged in a post-COVID time immediately after, so people can actually unwind from all this locked in and whatever that's happening now.
Yes, certainly there's opportunities.
Yeah, can just go and just spend a day, relax, come back refreshed. Yeah.
Right. So, in terms of the significance, the biological significance, because that's one of the reasons for the World Heritage Site, we have many different plant species, whether big trees or small plants, herbs, that are found nowhere else in the world. Some of them only in the Blue Mountains, the John Crow Mountains, Rio Grande Valley. These are some of the areas within the site. And of course, as I mentioned, herbs, and you link that now to the Maroon heritage and their use and knowledge of different plants for medicinal and other purposes. And of course, all these trees, are providing some magnificent scenery and landscape when you look up at the mountains, or if you can climb up to some of the hills and mountains in the area. You don't have to reach the Blue Mountain peak. You don't have to start from the highest point.
Okay.
So beautiful walks and so on that people can have breathtaking views. And the animals, in Jamaica we might not have lions and tigers and elephants, but on the other hand, we don't have any poisonous snakes. We do have some magnificent snakes like the Jamaican boa or yellow snake, but all our snakes are non-poisonous. We have a number of insects and birds in particular. The insect that I think of is a giant swallowtail butterfly, which is the largest butterfly in the Western Hemisphere, about 6 to 7 inches in wingspan. It's very distinctive, very beautiful. Kind of people say it has the colors of our flag. I don't think it has green, but it has black and gold, and some little touches of And that's, have you ever seen it, Flavius, in the Rio Grande Valley?
No, no, I'm not. No, are the sightings frequent?
Usually it is between maybe April down to July, and it's way up in so it's not usually within the community. So like on the Kunakuna Pass Trail and so on. But last year there were a lot of sightings. So it's kind of seasonal. But it's a very distinctive, very large butterfly, and quite a bit of scientific research going into that. Also, you talk about bird watching. So Jamaica is one of the places that bird watchers want to go because we have 29 endemic species, 29 different species of birds that are found nowhere else apart from Jamaica. So you have to come here.
Wow.
See them rather than just seeing them in a book. You have to come here. And the Blue Mountains, Blue and the Johnson Mountains, one of the places that you can find all of those species. A black-billed streamer-tailed hummingbird. Our national bird is a red-billed streamer-tailed hummingbird. And there's some good models up in the Norman Mandel International Airport. They have some beautiful models there hanging from the ceiling. And I've had people from Portland, St. Thomas say they always wonder why they show the streamer tail with a red. So that plant is often called a wild pine, and it has got the name of wild pine sargent because I guess it is calling the wild pine to attention and searching for the insects. It's usually seen up and down, like marching up and down, looking inspecting the wild pine.
In fact, I have a friend who has a song about the blackbird.
Yes?
Yes. I probably should try and send it to you, yes.
That would be interesting. One of the things that we have done recently too at Hollywell, which is the main recreation area. I'm sure Flavius you'd be familiar with that site. Just above Newcastle. And we recently have opened, just a little before COVID-19, our Discovery Center. So we hope that, maybe by summer or so, at least Jamaicans will be able to come and have that experience, because we have exhibits about the maroon heritage and gives you a little history of the Blue and John Crow Mountains visually. And we have different artifacts, which some of which were lent to us by the National Heritage Trust.
Okay.
We have a variety of stones, which are rocks, which are of interest from a geological perspective, because the Blue Mountain is quite distinct too from the rest of the island in terms of the geology. We have some volcanic history in the area as well. So we have a variety of interesting photographs, maps, artifacts, posters with lots of information. Last year, quite a few student groups passed through, all the way up until early March. We had a lot of school groups visiting, and they would go on one of the trails, because we have about 5 short, easy trails at Holwell, no longer than about an hour's walk. And then they got a little educational tour in the Discovery Center, which now has a little gift shop as well, featuring some natural products that are made from recycled materials, items that we have sourced from local communities, like the Charlestown Maroon community, which is another site in the Blue Mountains that is great to visit and to learn about the maroon heritage in Jamaica, which has been recognized under the World Heritage Site inscription. So there is so much. Jamaica is so rich in our heritage, in our history, and it's something that I think gives people resilience, but it would be good for people to get out and see and learn and taste and feel as well.
I don't know. In my early days as a cadet, we hiked out most of those areas. It was so nice, to get up there, and how cool it was, and different trails, and it was so nice.
And that doesn't happen as much as it used to. A lot of young people, and it's good to do these things when you're young, and your knees have more strength. But some of the places are easy to visit still, but it would be good to have more youth doing this kind of thing, getting out and knowing our country. It's going to become also more popular post-COVID, because we won't be able to go outside of the country much, I guess.
Yes.
But people are always fascinated too, because when they see the mist, and that's one of the things about the Blue Mountains. It's one of the reasons for the World Heritage Site inscription is that it is cloud forest or mist forest. And so that's one of the things we are going to experience in the Blue Mountains or in the John Crow Mountains, when the mist and the clouds are swirling around you. Sometimes it's so thick, it's fog. You can't see through. And that is always, I've heard people say, oh, this must be like snow, and they're very excited. So it's a wonderful experience.
I remember going to Syncona and looking down on the clouds.
Yes, you're above the clouds.
You're above the clouds. I was looking down. I mean, we could stay there for hours looking down on the clouds. It was so strange.
Relaxing.
Yeah, it was so strange, but very, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another question for you. Is there any connection, or is our other Blue Mountain product, or coffee, is that fused into this in any way?
Well, we have a good relationship with some of the coffee farmers, the Blue Mountain coffee farmers.
Right.
A lot of them perhaps though don't realize the significance of the national park in terms of protecting the forest above their Blue Mountain coffee. Because
Okay.
one of the reasons Blue Mountain coffee is famous worldwide is because, of course, the flavor.
Yeah.
And it has a kind of distinctive sweet flavor. And one of the reasons for that is that it ripens very slowly. And part of that is because of the mist and the cloud forest, the cool temperature, but not just the cool temperature, but the clouds
Yeah, the
that
cloud.
come
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
down. And so if we lose the forest above the Blue Mountain coffee plantation, we are going to lose our Blue Mountain coffee. So
So we're gonna
some of
change
them
the.
realize,
Yeah.
but some of them still don't realize we do have some challenges with encroachment into the national park. We also have some areas that we plan to begin to tackle later this year, working with the National Land Agency, National Environment and Planning Agency, and Forestry Department, because we do have some areas which long ago were given over to coffee planting, but we would like to see those moved just outside the national park itself, still in the Blue Mountains, but outside the boundary. So we're going to be looking at that. And we'd love to see the coffee farmers do more shade coffee and realize the importance, even of the birds, including we have a lot of migratory birds, another thing that many people are not aware, not just our endemic species, not just our native species of birds, but many birds that visit during the winter from the USA, from Canada.
You're kidding.
I never knew
boy.
that bird come down from the far.
Yeah. That is not
Whoa.
far away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's good.
Can't hear her,
Can't
Franco.
hear it. Susan, wherever you were
Hello?
standing. Yeah, you're back. No, you're back. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so many of these birds, as well as our own Jamaican birds, are important for eating pests.
Mm-hmm.
The coffee berry borer
Okay.
is one of the feared pests of Blue Mountain coffee.
Yeah.
And there has been studies that show that a number of birds are critical in consuming those worms. And one of the very important birds is one some people might be familiar with, the Jamaican toady, sometimes called a robin redbreast. I think a lot of Jamaicans might know that. Very beautiful bird with a red.
Yeah, Robert Redbreast.
And a green. Sometimes people even call it the Rasta bird because it has the green, the red, and it has kind of a theme in which some places are looking more yellow. So it kind of has a red, gold, and green.
Okay.
Yeah, so that bird consumes a lot of insects that would otherwise prey on the coffee berries. So it's important for people to realize also that connection between our economy and how we generate income and nature, so that we have to take care of nature. So I want to see more situations where people who are doing farming, they don't clear every single square inch of their land and plant crops, but they leave space for some native trees, whether our blue maho, our West Indian cedar, some of our trees that are not so familiar that JCDT uses in our reforestation activities, dovewood, beechwood. These are trees that attract a lot of birds and insects the insects are important for pollination.
Yeah.
So it is very important, especially in these times. We were talking about food security earlier on.
Yeah.
We have to look at the way that we grow our crops as well, because it's not just a matter of having crops, but how healthy are they? Are they grown in ways that you use less chemicals or no chemicals if you can go completely organic? Maybe
No.
everyone can do that, but
Okay.
then make sure you keep the insects present, the good insects and the birds.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be more concerned about their health and wellness, what they're consuming, because what goes into your body is what's going to help you to
Survive, yeah.
and to be able to fight off all these new diseases that we are being faced with.
Yeah.
So that is important. So in terms of managing the national park and the World Heritage Site within it, we work with the communities around the area. They're about within a 2 kilometer distance from the boundaries. We have about close to 50 communities and a population of about 42,000. And those we consider sort of our primary stakeholders. We reach out to those communities, visiting the local schools, and we try to do training with farmers in terms of agroforestry. We try to get them seedlings of some of these trees that I've been talking about, that to encourage them, because they're growing their crops on steep slopes, and so when you just clear the ground, it's prone to soil erosion, and we want to keep the soil on the land rather than allowing it to run off when it rains. So you need to have trees for that, as well as I said, for the birds who are eating the pests, for the insects who are helping with the pollination. So we do quite a bit of distribution of tree seedlings, fruit trees, lumber trees. So they also have use for people as well.
Dr.
And
Susan,
we've had, yes.
how big is the national park?
So the national park is 41,000 and a little bit, 41,000 hectares, which is just over 100,000 acres.
Wow.
And so it's, very large, especially for island people. I just read a report on the World Heritage Site, and they keep saying that it is small and that they're concerned because the area is small. Now, the World Heritage Site is inside the national park. It's a core preservation zone, and that is 26,000 hectares, which is just over 60,000 acres. So that is still very significant, particularly within an island.
Yeah. So how many
that was so small to me.
How many workers you have covering all of that acres of land?
Not enough.
Not enough.
So right now we have our ranger, National Park Ranger Corps. They are really the arms, the legs, the ears, the eyes. They are the ones who are covering the ground in terms of looking out for illegal activities, whether it is cutting down illegal hunting, whether they are poisoning rivers. We have that, unfortunately, not so much inside the park, but outside the communities. And it's a very small team of just 8. The chief officer and 7 rangers. We actually were advertising for an 8th ranger, so that we would have a team of 9. But that's small for that. And right now, our vehicles are in very. I think all our vehicles right now are at the mechanic. So.
Oh my goodness! Are you
we have
kidding me?
I'm not. I wish I was kidding you.
You guys need help, man. You need eye in the skies. You need eyes in the sky as well to cover off so much acres of land.
Yes. seriously,
And
we are
you
looking
don't have enough
at
manpower, so you definitely need technology to help as well.
that is what we have started to look at this year. We were able to purchase a drone, so it's a small one though compared to some that we see out there, but we have to learn to fly it first.
Yes,
Because there are some areas that the rangers simply cannot get to,
go. Yeah.
because it's just physically impossible.
Let me
So if
ask,
you can get to a point,
Mhm.
fly your drone, let the camera see what is happening. That's
Yeah.
important.
Let me ask a
And so
question.
those are park rangers. We have a park manager who is responsible for all the programs. We have conservation programs that includes like reforestation. The rangers would also provide some level of supervision for our reforestation activities, which are usually carried out by local community members. So those people would not be on our staff, but depending on where we are doing reforestation, we would identify interested local community members and show them exactly what needs to be done. And the rangers would bring the seedlings up, bring whatever is needed for them to get the work done and check it off, do the supervision. And also because we are now trying to make our reforestation process much more scientific, we're trying to do a lot of measurements, better understand which trees grow better in particular locations, which ones grow best with, next to another type.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we're also trying to grow these seedlings because most nurseries you would go to would not find the tree seedlings that we need. Not even at the forestry department, they tend to have lumber trees.
Yeah.
You don't want to plant lumber trees inside the national park because it's illegal to cut down trees. So why are we going to encourage people? It's like it would be a challenge now. We plant all these lumber trees, people going to want to come in and cut. So we're trying to plant trees that people are not really familiar with. They grow naturally within the forest, but they are more important for the birds and the various animals, and also for helping to provide water, because we know our forests are critical for attracting the rainfall, ensuring that when the rain does fall, it pulls the water down into the underground water and then from there out to the streams and rivers.
Yeah.
So we also have apart from the park manager who has oversight over all the programs, we have a few administrative staff in the office in Kingston, about 3, like a part-time accountant, accounts clerk, admin manager. And then we also have some part-time staff who will come on board for particular projects. And then at the recreation areas at Hollywell and Portland Gap, Blue Mountain Peak Trail, we have part-time staff doing, maintaining the grounds, maintaining the trails. Where we have cabins, we have housekeeping staff. So all in all, we have maybe about 25 staff, but some of those are part-time.
Yeah, but
And
Dr. Susan, all of these things you have been mentioning, the small staff that you have, your vehicle problem, it have me thinking, how do you get funding? Other than the government assistance, how do you get funding?
So JCDT, and I'm the executive director. My job is raising the funds, doing things like this, networking, communications, letting people know about the site. And what happens is that, I think I said we're a non-government organization, and we're a registered charity. The National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, is the agency in Jamaica that's responsible for national parks. And they, through the Natural Resources Conservation Authority, they provide us with about 30% of our budget. And that covers the salaries of that ranger corps that I mentioned, the park manager, and a couple other positions, or like part of a position. So like maybe 50% or 30% of somebody's salary. And then the remainder of the funds that we need, because that's about 30%, we raise ourselves. The recreation areas at Hollywell and Blue Mountain Peak Trail, there are fees, there are entry fees that are actually legislated under the National Park regulations. And we also charge for educational tours, bird watching tours. We have a few cabins, and the money that we earn that way gives us maybe another 20 to 25%. But most of that really goes back to managing those recreation areas, pays for the receptionist, the bookings clerk who makes your bookings for you. And then the remaining, 45 to 55%, we write proposals. So and that's one of my main jobs. So we're constantly writing proposals to different foundations, different agencies, entities, both locally, like the Environmental Foundation of Jamaica, or abroad, whether it might be one that we recently got funding from is the German International Development Corporation, GIZ. And they have been very helpful because they had a regional project in the Caribbean. Yeah. And we've been able to get support. Sometimes the support is for our education and sustainable livelihoods project. So last year and the year before, through the GIZ, we were able to do training for a total of maybe about 12 people in the area near to the Blue Mountain Peak Trail were certified in the Team Jamaica hospitality and tour guiding certification. And these are local community members as well as some of our staff. And through another project, including the Global Environment Facility Small Grant Program, we had about 20 odd community members with the same training and certification through the Tourism Product Development Company. We were able to pay the cost, because whilst these might be government certification, they're not free. And for people to come, because they have to pay the trainers, and also for people to come and sit for 5 days, 10 days to do the training, they get their lunch, their refreshment, and so on. So that's also where some of our funds goes, is in terms of also doing projects with local community members.
So you're basically functioning on tin here then? Because you don't have that much funds.
Right, and because we don't know, it depends on, you write a proposal, doesn't mean that you're going to get funding, because there are many other organizations trying to get the same funds.
Flavius.
I have a question from a listener that is asking you to expand on the relationship of the ecological importance of that area to the economy.
Good, very good question. So thanks to that listener. So it's important for the economy of all of Eastern Jamaica. The first thing that comes to mind is water. And of course, we always hear NWC say water is life, and it's really true. Yeah. Our bodies are made mostly of water. We need to consume water. And with diseases like COVID-19, now we realize we need to be washing our hands constantly, washing. So we need more water. So just for human survival and health, we need the water that comes from the Blue Mountains and from the John Crow Mountains, and flows into the rivers. For example, Kingston would get most of our water from Yalos River, Hope River, Wagwater River, and those are all starting from springs and streams and rivers up in the Blue Mountains. Of course, water is also critical for agriculture, and some of the agriculture is dependent on rainwater, but also water from these same streams I talk about, and even from the clouds, because a lot of the water that is in the Blue Mountains is actually doesn't fall as rain. It's the clouds that are just surrounding the trees and the environment. And of course, for manufacturing, every manufacturer requires water. We think about even like Red Stripe Bear or, or various, a lot of spring water companies. Their water is coming from the Blue Mountains. So water is the first one that comes to mind. Our economy could not run without water. The challenge is that water is not really being paid for or by the people that are using it.
Should tax them now. Time to tax them.
Well, there's a discussion about that.
Yeah, you should.
But there's always a big thing. People can't take it. Companies can't take any more tax because if you tax them, then they're going to pass the.
Well, they should be your biggest contributor when it comes to funding. They should be the first.
They should be. So hopefully someone are listening and understand. Because a lot of them just say, well, I pay tax already, so government should just pass on the funds. But then there are a lot of expenses that the government spends on, crime and violence, the police force, the hospitals, the schools, and so environment really tends to come at the end. But going back to the economy, the other thing that is critical that our mountains and forests provide and the ecology, as I said before, the pollination, the consumption of insect pests that would be affecting farmers' crops, including Blue Mountain coffee. The air, just the air alone, remember that trees and plants are absorbing the carbon dioxide. Not only that people breathe out, but that our factories and our cars and our electricity power plants are producing all this carbon dioxide that's causing global warming and climate change internationally, not just in Jamaica. So it's to retain the forests in the mountains. Another important one would be, and a lot of these, you talk about the economy, often these things are not costed. They're sort of what we call ecosystem services. So nature is providing us with all these kind of free products and services that the cost is not properly factored into our economy. And so when we go now to Ministry of Finance, they're saying, but so much money to run a national park, just leave the forest up there and the forest will take care of itself. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that because at the same time, you say that people are cutting down trees, people are lighting fire, and sometimes the fire they're lighting inside the forest, like sometimes when they might go to try and hunt wild pigs. They light fire to chase the pigs, and that fire, as usual, gets away. I don't understand Jamaicans and fire. We need to address the psyche because people light fire for everything. Yeah. They rake up their yard and they burn the leaves when that would make a good compost that would be useful and healthy for the soil, and they could start their home garden and so on. People use fire to clear land because it's faster, it's less work than using a machete to cut, but it does a whole lot of damage, and it usually spreads farther than you really need it to. And in the mountain areas, it's usually windy, and that fire just spreads.
Yeah.
Wildfires and bushfires. So that's one of the things that's a challenge for us.
as you
Yes.
mentioned, wild pig. What kind of population do you have now?
Well, nobody actually lives within the national park, and the World Heritage Site is again like another circle within the national park. But outside, we estimate the population within 2 kilometers right around
No,
at about 42,000. But
population
Jamaica,
of wild pigs, no.
we don't have a figure. We don't have a figure for that. You think
Mhm.
I don't think it's declining, I don't think so. Because
Okay.
less people are really, or at least for a while, less people were eating wild pigs. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know that population is declining. And that's not a
Okay.
native species, so we don't really worry too much about that. The one we're concerned about is the Jamaican foot-tail or the coney. And
Mhm.
if you've ever heard of that one, a small
Yeah.
mammal, it's about maybe the size of a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And the maroons in particular would have eaten coney as, part of their protein intake.
Yeah.
And they call it the grazy.
This is interesting.
And, it's not something that most people thought it was extinct.
Mm-hmm.
But a few years ago, Colonel Sterling from the Moortown Maroons, said, because we have committees that meet on a regular basis that include Maroon community representatives. And one of the concerns that was raised was that the coney was increasing in numbers, in their opinion,
Okay.
and that it was eating their crops because it consumes like roots and vegetables, leaves, and so on. And so we recently did a study. We are just at the stage of finalizing the results. We still now realize we need much more information because nobody has ever really done a study before. So we don't know how many conies there were in the past to compare with what there are now. But we're trying to get an estimate of that. But that is one of Jamaica's unique species. In fact, it's one of the few mammals that we have that's endemic or unique to Jamaica. Many of, as I said earlier, we don't have giraffe and elephant and so on, being a small island. But many of our species of animals are unique. And I know Jamaicans don't like bats or rat bats, as we call them, but they're very important animals because they consume a lot of mosquitoes and other insects. Many of those insects that they usually consume are the ones that are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also important in pollinating our fruit trees. But many of them are actually unique to Jamaica. So only found in Jamaica. If you go to another Caribbean island, many of the rat bats there will be distinctly different. From what we have. If you go over to Cuba, some of them are different there. So, and this is something that really fascinates, scientists, how within the Caribbean, many of although so close to each other. So, for example, I mentioned the robin redbreast earlier. The Cubans have Cuban toady, and it's a different species. I think there's a different one in the Dominican Republic and a different one in Puerto Rico. You and I might look at them and not be able to tell the difference, but when the scientists study the DNA, they have found they're actually different. So really quite fascinating.
I am hearing that we have reindeers now. For some time.
I don't know if there is called a white-tailed deer, which is something a bit different from reindeer. However, those would be what we would call an introduced and possibly invasive species. Like the mongoose, which people brought in many, I think, centuries ago to supposedly consume the snakes on the sugarcane plantation, but they really didn't do a good job of eating the snakes. They instead go for people's chickens and so on, but they are still a problem for our bird population, particularly our endemic bird population. Many species that we knew about maybe 200 years ago, we can't find them anymore. And we know is one of the culprits. The Jamaican iguana that they find in the Hellshire Hills and Clarendon area, which is one of our unique species. It's the mongoose that has killed off eaten a lot of the eggs and eaten a lot of the young iguanas. And these are some of the species that make Jamaica unique. You know, the Jamaican people are unique, but we also have many flora and fauna, plants and animals that make Jamaica unique as well. So the deer, the white-tailed deer, actually was apparently maybe a couple of them in somebody's zoo.
Yeah,
in an attraction, and apparently one of the hurricanes blew down some fence and they escaped. And deer, they talk about breeding like rabbits. Well, deer apparently breed like rabbits, so they're not necessarily a good thing because they eat a lot of plants that we might not want them to eat. Also, the farmers in some Portland communities were having challenges. So I hope they really don't. Some people might think they're cute, and unfortunately, maybe they're a little cuter than the iguana or than the coney. But we have to remember which ones are our special and unique Jamaican animals.
Yes, we have to. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Yeah.
as far as the promotion and all that about do we have documents putting these things out in the general public? And how are we doing this in schools if we are at all?
So one of the good things we actually realized maybe 2 years ago there's an update in the school curriculum, and they now require, I think it's either grade 5 or grade 6. There are sections where they have to learn about mountains, and they're getting information about the Blue Mountains and the Jonquil Mountains and World Heritage Site and so on. And about 2 years ago, we suddenly had an increase in requests for educational tours at Hollywell.
Okay.
And we said, we were wondering what was happening, because we usually try to do the tours Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And every single Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from January right up to COVID-19 struck, we had at least one, sometimes two school groups, depending on the size of the group. So it's required not just to study, but they're encouraging the teachers to get the students out to actually see. So not just look at pictures in a book, but to experience. So that is good, but still more, and we need to do more, but with our limited capacity, it is difficult. Our website, www.blueandjohncrowmountains.org, has a lot of information, a lot of photographs, books and documents. Well, maybe not so much books, but our management plan is there, and a number of other things that people can download for more information. There's also information if you go to UNESCO's World Heritage Site. They have quite a lot of information on the Blue and Jonquil Mountains World Heritage Site, and that's interesting too, because we do get people from abroad, asking questions and being interested in what we have here.
Dr. Susan, I have a question. Do you work in conjunction with the tourist board?
So we do. We do work with them. I still think there's more that could be done. I think we're just beginning to understand it's a kind of different tourism from what we're generally used to in Jamaica. You know, the sun, sea, and sand is a bit
Yes.
different from the mountains, the forest. You know, it's not driving on a good road. you have winding roads, you have potholes, and so on. So the experience is different, and I think there's still some more work. We're moving in the right direction. The Ministry of Tourism is working on Portland Tourism Development Plan and St. Thomas Tourism Development Plan, and I think they've had a number of meetings. We have been involved, communities, they've been doing a lot of work trying to ensure local communities are involved and have a say, because some of these communities are developing, you know, the sites and things to do
Yeah.
in their communities. So I think we're getting there. It's a slow process.
I think one of the problem is the target market, because the Jamaica Tourist Board mainly look at North America as their target market.
Which
Land
is,
tourism is definitely European or Latin American
yeah,
target market that we need to move to.
absolutely. Because a lot
Yeah.
of European love mountains. They love go up in the
Yeah,
mountains and things like that.
Yes. Yes.
they like to be on the ground. Yeah, meet the
We have
people.
had a number of visitors, you know, writers that the tourist board has sent to us. Magazine writers, travel writers, tour company representatives. We have quite a few from Europe, but I think also there are people in North America who are interested in this kind of.
Oh yeah, you will have some. Yes, yes.
But it requires perhaps advertising in different areas than we are.
Yes,
Do you have a
yes.
food spot inside there? Like, do you
Food
have a
or
food spot like you actually, you know, where you cater food for visitors and things like that?
So at the moment, you know, it depends where you're talking about. So JCDT, for the national park, we operate two main areas for people to visit: Hollywell, and at the moment, we really only have what we call a tuck shop, which is, well, before COVID, was open only on weekends. We'll see what happens in the summer. We're trying to make our plans.
Need a jerk spot, man.
So we when we have events, we do have, of course, the jerk man,
Yeah.
and you know, usually people from local areas that provide food, you know, whether it's Janga soup or something like that. But
Cause
we do have,
the wild hog that you mentioned, right? These outsiders, they catch these wild hogs and eat them, right?
I think most of the hunting is actually done by local people, particularly in the Valley.
That's what I'm talking about. The locals, yeah, the locals. They catch these wild
Hello?
hog. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Can you hear me? Well, my listeners, let's play some music and then get back our guests.
Yes.
I just don't know what to do with this heart of mine. One thing's for sure, I won't let it blow my mind. I am so scared, I am so blue, but I would rather be alone. Still, my heart lives in the different.
Yeah, we're back
And I
again with
think
Dr. Susan.
it's community members, because to be a wild hog hunter, one, you have to have experience, and also they have dogs that they use as well. You know, maybe they might take other persons with them, but usually I think it is based on my knowledge from the Rio Grande Valley, it's particular a small group of hunters, and they're not always going into the national park because there are quite a lot of forest areas within the Rio Grande Valley before you get to the park boundary. But of course, sometimes I'm sure they might intrude, but because it's wild hog and that's not a native species and it's traditional, we don't, as long as they're not lighting fires, it's not really a problem.
Okay. Okay.
How can a company like mine, Slowly Jamaica, which is also a tour company, how can we get involved?
Well, we would love to see more tour companies bringing people to our sites, both Hollywell and the Blue Mountain Peak Trail, and we can sit together and help you to craft something that suits your particular company. And we also are working, as I said, with local communities to develop opportunities for that tour companies can bring people to visit. So it's something that, if people got in touch with us, Jamaica Conservation at gmail.com is really probably the best way to get in touch with us, or to contact us on our website, which I had said was blueandjohncrowmountains.org. We would love to sit down with people because that's not really our expertise, is not so much in reaching out to potential visitors and bringing them. We are working on the site and the attractions, the potential tours, and we're doing training with local community members. So we would love to talk to tour companies to see what we can work out with them, because that would be a win-win situation.
Excellent. You'll definitely hear from me. Definitely.
Well, I look forward to that, Flavius. I was just saying we've been trying to ensure that the communities have the capacity. And I think we're kind of at that stage, but we realize we need the help from the tour companies. You know what your market is. You know what the typical visitors that you bring, whether Jamaican or from abroad. You know what they're like, what they're interested. I think we need to have you visit some of the sites, walk and look with you, and build your specialized tour for your group. That's what we want to do. It's more like what they call boutique. You talk about boutique hotels. I think that's what makes sense for the Blue Mountains. Really specialized to what your particular market, because a lot of the tour companies in these that would be interested are smaller tour companies. You're talking about huge bus loads of visitors that just walk in through quickly and not really noticing. It's more interaction with community members, with nature, spending a bit longer time. And so I think we have to develop with the different tour companies what is useful, what would suit your clients' needs. And we can do that.
I have a question for you, Doctor. I have a question for you, Doctor, from a guest that has texted me. They want to know, do you have overnight cabins on these sites for people to...
So at Hollywell, we do have a few cabins. Not as much as we would like at Hollywell, which is just above Newcastle, and that's the site where we have electricity, but still quite rustic, but well laid out. Just 3 cabins. There's also camping, and we also have a space that we can accommodate groups, like maybe up to 12 or 15 in like a dormitory kind of setting. And then at Portland Gap, which is along the Blue Mountain Peak Trail, we do have several cabins there, and most of those though are dormitory style. But most times when people are hiking to the peak, it would be a group of maybe 20 in a group. So we have those kind of space and accommodation, and we can also help you to organize your food and so on.
Okay,
So
I
again,
guess.
the best way to contact us is jamaicaconservation@gmail.com, or go to our website and use the contact us. The website is www.blueandjohncrowmountains.org.
Okay, I write that
Mhm.
down. .gov,
Yeah.
right?
No,
No,
no.
.org,
.org.
O-R-G.
ORG. Okay, yeah.
And
Non-profitable.
if you just
Non-profitable.
search for Blue and John Crow Mountains National Park, or just even Blue and John Crow Mountains, you will see our website come up very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Very
And we
good. Very
always have
good.
to remember the John Crow Mountains. Sometimes people say, "Oh, why is it? What is John Crow Mountains?" And that's an important component in running along the Portland and St. Thomas, through the Portland and St. Thomas parishes, whereas the Blue Mountains run St. Andrew, Portland, and St. Thomas, and people are more familiar. But the John Crow Mountain is particularly significant for the maroon heritage.
No part of it is in St. Mary, the Blue Mountain.
There's a small portion of the Blue Mountains. Don't want to confuse the issue. It's really the Port Royal Mountains that goes up into St. Mary, just past the Scotts Hall area.
Okay.
Which is another maroon community.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you hear that,
Quite
Flavius.
an expansive area.
Flavius.
No,
You hear that?
but Franco. No, but Franco. I actually have Portland land,
No. I'm not talking about that part of it when you brag to me, say you've seen the Blue Mountain and this and that. I know that part of it. I'm just saying that's not what you just said a while ago. I never know that part of it. Say a part of it was somebody just text me and say isn't part of the Blue Mountain is in St. Mary.
St. Mary. But another question, Susan. How far down does the park goes?
Okay, so and that is difficult to describe without a map. But if I talk about the communities, like the Moortown, Cornwall Barracks area, remember the communities are not within the national park.
I know.
In the Rio Grande Valley, we're up on the mountains. So you would have the community, then you'd have the land that they're farming on, and then beyond that, the national park. So, or if you're going, Hollywell side, Newcastle is not in the park, but Catherine's Peak itself, the peak itself, and a little area around that, just above Newcastle, is within the national park.
Man, Texas.
So it's actually the higher areas, probably above 1,000 meters or 3,000 feet in elevation above. So there are no communities actually within the national park, but communities, like Penline Castle, Hadley Gap, that's on the St. Thomas side, or communities like Millbank or Hayfield. Communities like Ginger House. Well, Ginger House would be in the valley between the Blue Mountains and the John Crow Mountains. But we consider those communities to be what we call our buffer zone communities. And we have close relationship with them, a lot of outreach. We visit the local schools. Recently, we were able to get some funds to take some of those school children to Hollywell to experience the educational tour, because we realized that a lot of the schools, a lot of the children who are in what we would call Blue Mountain communities, they've never really gone up into the mountains.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And especially nowadays where children are mainly on TV or on the video games or on their tablets, whatever, their phone, the games on their phone. they're not having that experience.
As you
And
said
a
at
lot of these
Susan, as you said at
schools,
Susan, I received a
mhm.
text not too long, and the person was asking, "Does the DC does the DCDT have a YouTube channel?"
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
JCDT.
no, we
Yeah.
don't. JCDT,
Yeah, do you have
Yeah.
a YouTube channel?
we don't. I guess that's something we should look at.
Yeah, because see, you just mentioned
Definitely. Yeah.
the children, they don't know, and
Mhm.
they're on their phones and things like this. And if you have the channel with all of these pictorial,
You
settings
and
and
engagement. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
Okay, well, that's a good idea, something that we should look at.
Yeah. You have to go
Because,
where they are. You have to go where they are.
right, right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Instagram
yeah,
site
because
too as well,
we
and
do have
Instagram.
a number of so we're on Instagram and Facebook,
Okay,
Blue
Facebook. Yeah.
Mountains,
I'm
Jamaica.
gonna follow you on
Okay.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, just when you sent me the information about this program,
Hmm.
I went and posted it
On
on
Instagram.
Okay.
our
Oh.
IG and Facebook.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Mm.
yes, so but so as I said, it's a combination of things. There's a visitation, there's the awareness raising, and just the importance of preserving these areas. Interestingly, maybe because of the threat of mining in the Coptic country and all the the trying to fight and ensure that that area remains in forest. I think there's been a lot of publicity, so a lot of people know more about the Coptic country being out
Yeah.
there in the public arena more than the Blue Mountains and the John Crow Mountains. So
Yeah.
I take the idea about the YouTube. And if people can certainly get on our website, our Facebook, let's say
Instagram.
Blue Mountains Jamaica or Blue and John Crow Mountains Jamaica. Either one of those will take you
Okay.
to our pages. And
Now that
you
since you mentioned this, an idea just came to my thought, and I'm gonna discuss it with Flavius and you whenever we go on a break again, because
Yeah.
it's a time and it can be done, and I think we have some resources that can help us set it up as well.
okay, good. So we can talk
Oh yeah,
on that.
Yeah.
Because
definitely.
it's important for us to know, to know what we have in our country, and that makes us unique.
Yeah. But one of the worst thing for me, is being overseas
Hmm.
and you're talking to some people and they're saying, "Oh, I was in Jamaica and I was at this place and that place," and your eyes are wide open because you don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yes,
It
That's
can be
true.
very embarrassing.
They've been there
It can
before
be
you.
very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. I mean, sometimes it's because some of the places are actually quite expensive
Oh, that
to
too.
visit. But Blue and
Yeah.
John Crow Mountains, because we're a national park, particularly at Hollywell and the Peak Trail, our entry fees are actually quite ridiculously low. We only got an increase because it's legislated, and so there was a recent increase just on the 31st of December. We just announced it just before COVID-19 hit. So our new fees at Hollywell for adult Jamaicans is only $300, and that would
Oh.
allow
That's
you
chicken
to,
feed,
and
man.
children $100
Yeah,
because we
that's
recognize that there's a significant cost in coming up the mountain to get to us, and there's
Yeah.
currently public transportation. So, because of that, and because we want to ensure that Jamaicans have that experience, our costs are relatively low. If you want to then do a guided tour, you would pay an additional fee, but that price of the 300 or the 100 Jamaican dollars for resident Jamaicans allows you to explore, use the area, and go on the trails by yourself if you wish, and visit our Discovery Center. We have a gift shop, so we hope to earn some money from the gift shop. People will buy even a small item to help us, but that $300 would allow you there. For visitors to Jamaica, it's a bit more. Non-resident, it's 10 US for non-resident adults and 5 US for non-resident children. So I think that's something, that tour operators also can work with us on that.
Yes, definitely, yes.
For real.
Yeah. So, what else have I not told you about?
I hope you cover off everything. Dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
No,
What's your day
you
like
have
today?
some,
Like a day
no,
like today?
you have some functions that you normally have.
Yes, we Miss is normally our big event at the end of February, and we made that event end of February because the national park was gazetted at the end of February. I think it's the 23rd of February. It's usually very cold at that time.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
It's mist. So, but we hope that people would it would be a blissful experience, and it's a traditional culture. We usually have groups like the Charlestown Maroon drummers and dancers, and we usually have maybe some reggae or mento artists, and we always try to make sure that we have an opportunity for local community members to share as well. Couple years ago, we had the symphony in the mountains with the Immaculate Conception High School.
I remember that, yeah.
Orchestra with Stephen Woodham, and that was a fabulous experience. That was for the 25th anniversary of the national park. It's just that these are very difficult to organize, all the logistics and so on. But Mr. Bliss is our usual event, and we have been saying that we would try to have something small, but with some entertainment, maybe every fourth Sunday. But again, we try to start that, but 2020 has just been a challenging year, so maybe more on that. But there's a lot to do and see, and some people just come up to say Hollywell just to sit and relax, and people can't understand. They say, "Oh, you need to have more activities." Sometimes people just want a chance to just
unwind,
relax, unwind, and in that atmosphere with the forest, the greenery, the sounds of the birds, the mist rolling, it really is an experience that, as you say, unwinding. And because it's not far from Kingston, in the heat and the hustle and bustle and the stress of city life, it is a great place for people to be able to get away. And that's the easiest location in the Blue and John Crow Mountains National Park for people to visit. And we want to encourage later on, when things are a little bit more back to normal. I always say every Jamaican should hike to the Blue Mountain Peak at least once in their lifetime.
100%.
Me too, 1,000%.
I've been up there 5 times.
Oh,
5 times, and I love it.
And a lot of people, people just keep putting it off.
You're low. She's low again.
When you're young and don't have any excuse. But even so, people of all ages have made it. They just take their time. And it is one of the most amazing trails. A lot of people do it in the night. It's overnight. They go up from through Mavis Bank and get to whether a guest house up in Penline Castle, Minto, or they can stay at Portland Gap through JCDT. And then they wake up early, like 2 a.m., 1 a.m.,
and hike up. So I've
Yeah.
done that, but a lot of times because I'm going for work, I like to go in the early morning. So leave Kingston like 4:35 a.m. and you get there, you get to the hiking point by probably 7. You won't see
Yeah.
the sunrise, but there is so much to look at, and it's not you're not hiking in the sun because the majority of that trail is on the forest. It's
Yeah,
only
it is. Yes.
part
Yes.
of the trail which is really not inside the national park. You go through coffee plantation, so that's also very interesting to see. Um,
Mhm.
that area doesn't have as much shade. But once you're past there, maybe that's just an hour, and so you would start that in the, you know, 7, 8 a.m. when it is
Yeah, early morning. Yeah.
you're hiking on the trees, with, vines and different moss and so on hanging down, bromeliads, orchids, and the sound of the birds and so on. It's very, very rejuvenating.
Oh, it is. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And it gives you a nice feeling because, to say, okay, I went to the highest point. I made it to the highest point in
yeah.
Jamaica. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I always do. Always do. Stop at
Yeah.
Portland Gap, and then the next morning we're down over.
Mm-hmm.
Because we always like to see that we call it that Cuba Marsland of the
Oh,
Cuba.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
beautiful,
If you have,
beautiful.
as long as you have clear skies, but not
And
all the time
Yeah.
you have clear
yeah,
skies.
and twice I walk up there without shirt on.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah,
it is
twice.
strenuous. It is an effort.
Hmm.
But I'm
Mm.
sure you have to put on back your shirt
Oh
when you got
yeah,
to the
yeah.
peak
Because
itself. Because
Yeah.
actually,
once you
Yeah.
stop walking, then you
you
feel the
start get
cold.
cold. Exactly. We were walking from Portland Gap up to the highest point, and that's when
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
we were walking without shirt, just to feel
Yeah.
if we can really
Mm-hmm.
really sustain the cold. Because the morning we were
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
drinking porridge, and trust me, as soon as you skip a hand with a cup of porridge, it cold.
Yes, yes.
So
It's a different kind of cold, but
yeah.
Yeah.
it's
It is.
really beautiful. And when you look across um, out from, you're walking on the trail, and at some point you can look out,
Hmm.
and you just
Yeah.
see the wide expanse of forest,
Yeah.
and the different shades of green, and depending what flowers are blooming, it's very
Okay.
dramatic. It's a really great experience.
Oh yeah.
Also done some significant repairs and expansion at Portland Gap. So I don't know when your experiences. So all the cabins have
It was in
been
the 70s, the 70s and the
oh
early
no man,
80s.
the place is looking fabulous
Yeah.
now. Still
Yeah.
rustic.
Okay.
We don't have electricity. We don't have hot water. I'm
Yeah.
against putting that sort of thing in because
Don't
I
need no
think
hot water, trust
more
me.
and more, yeah.
You
It's,
are nature, man.
most people spend only one night. And to
Exactly.
Yeah.
experience that freezing cold water, I think, is an experience people soon won't be able to have anywhere.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So I think to keep it just natural, back to nature,
Oh yeah.
you soon won't have places like that
Oh
anymore.
yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
we always do it on a Friday evening. We meet at Papine, and from Papine to
hmm
Mavis Bank, and then that's
hmm
our journey start from there.
And I'm sure that you would perhaps have start the hike from Mavis Bank.
Oh yeah,
A
that's
lot
where we
of
Yeah.
people
start from, Mavis
nowadays
Bank.
don't do that, because you can now, a number of community members
Mm.
have
Transportation.
4-wheel drive
Oh yeah.
transportation.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
we can arrange, JCDT arranges and help you arrange that for your group so that
Okay.
you can get to the starting point of the actual peak trail itself um, at Abbey Green
Oh no.
Okay.
coffee plantation or just above Whitfield Hall. That's another
Yeah.
area that people might know about. So you don't even have to walk as far as people used to walk back
Yeah.
in the
We
day.
walk.
We did
We
the
walk
whole
from.
9 yards. We did the whole
Yeah.
9 yards.
Pass the river and up
Yep.
the hill we go.
When we
Oh
get to
yeah.
the river, that's where we stop first, and then we soak our feet and get our bags
Oh,
light and thing like that, and head on
yeah.
up.
Up you,
Mm.
yeah, man. Up you go.
And we did it. By the
That's
time
a
we get up there, it was like morning,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
early morning. You get some rest and get up back ready for breakfast or whatever we do. And after we finish
Mm-hmm.
breakfast, we head up to the ice peak. And that was
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
did make it to the mountain top
I
Yeah.
did. I did too.
Uh-huh.
5 times.
Right. 5 times. I
Yeah.
think I have been about, and 5 of those is working with JCDT. But the first time
Okay.
when I was at university,
Okay.
You're getting low, Susan.
so much. Are you hearing me better
I'm
now?
hearing you better. Yeah.
I think I changed my position.
All right.
Okay.
And yes, I did that same hike as you say. Take the bus to Mavis Bank, walk
Yeah.
down to the river, and cross
Yeah.
and start going up, which
Yeah.
is way longer. That's several miles more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Lots of
Oh,
nice
yeah.
more.
Enough
We can.
miles, man.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. But that's a good experience too. But as I said, you don't have to go to
Yeah.
that extreme.
Yeah.
And if you use the local 4-wheel drive transportation, I wouldn't recommend it for the average driver, even if you have 4-wheel drive.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
roads, there are some sections that are really challenging, and it's narrow road, and there's not much place for you to park. So better to organize your group and get the local transportation. They will pick you up. You tell them what time
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
come back for you. And
Mhm.
even if you have some stragglers, they will just wait
Mm-hmm.
until
Yeah.
everyone comes back in terms of picking you up. But
I.
yeah, a really good experience. But as I was saying, that we have expanded the number of cabins. So you were talking about
Yeah.
going up in the 70s and 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we JCDT got some funding from the Tourism Enhancement Fund, the
Okay.
government's tourism
Yeah.
enhancement fund through the Ministry of Tourism, and also through the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. As one of there's three main buildings at Portland Gap. So one of them now we have as like for small, like a family or a small group of friends, maybe 6 people.
Okay.
And then we have a large cabin with several dormitory rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a second one of those large cabins. And one of them, the second one towards the back
Mm-hmm.
of the Portland Gap area, was really in bad condition. We literally had to tear it down and build again. We have bunk beds, and we have just floor space, with some little mats that you can sleep on, because most people
You have me
hardly
cracking
even
up. You have me
you sleep when
cracking
you
up.
get home.
You say you have bunk beds now. We never have no bunk beds back then.
No.
We have a
So
blanket.
it's luxury.
We had our blankets, bunk beds. We had was to
Bunk
be
bed with nice
hey,
mattress.
I remember we slept
This.
so
Oh,
close
this
that
is
night.
Uncle, this is luxury, man. Luxury.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Right, and then we have the floor space, because as you're saying, you try to sleep close together,
Oh
because
yes, to keep
boy,
warm.
it's a cold like you have never experienced before.
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes even foreigners are surprised at how cold it is, because
Yeah.
Mhm.
remember in countries in North America and Europe where you have winter and so on, they're not sleeping outside in the winter. They are
Oh,
inside usually in their heated homes
yeah.
and so on. When they experience that cold, they're really amazed.
Yeah, man, that's true.
It's a good experience for groups, different types of groups. Want to do a team building exercise. I remember one company.
I'm wondering if I could do it again.
I think it's
I'm wondering if
I
I
think
could do
group.
it again. I'm thinking about it,
I
yeah,
Maybe you could. You could.
I think I can do
Yeah.
it because I don't have no aches and pains. Maybe when I finish, I
No.
might have all of that.
it's all about the group. You know. If you have a good group,
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah. If you have a good group, you're fine.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
think it's all group.
I think the last
yeah,
time I
and
went
Yeah,
with a group in
encouraging each
Charles.
other.
yeah. Support. Yeah,
Well, I always make sure that I take a lot of photographs because that allows me to
yeah,
stop and to catch my breath. But I don't tell anybody I'm giving away my secret now, but I'm sharing it. You can use it too. You
Good
just
tip.
there's so much to take photographs of.
Yeah.
You use that time and you catch your breath. You take your photos, you take a few sips of water, and you
yeah,
continue. You know, so you can go at your own pace.
You know what I used to
yeah.
see a lot going up? A lot of scallion, escallion. It's still there on the
Yeah, so
side.
that would be outside. That is
Yeah.
when you are before you get to the coffee plantation
And
areas.
we used to read
Scallion
it.
and thyme,
We used to
rosemary, those
read it.
are things that grow up in the high up in the mountains.
We used to read it and wrap it up in our blankets. And when we get to the when we get I remember one Sunday when we get down to Mavis Bank on the bus, we were worried because we saw some police and they said that they report that some guys were stealing stealing from the farmers.
Boy, you
Man,
people are
those
really,
scallion went
really
back through the window
terrible.
so fast.
Oh no, oh. But those communities, Penland Castle, Minto, Hagley Gap, produce some of the best scallion, thyme, rosemary,
Yeah.
different
Oh yeah.
herbs grow very well in those cool climates.
Eventually, we made friends
And
with a farmer, so we could get on our way back down there. Yeah, so that was good.
mhm, yes, yes, and even some different fruits that you might see: wild strawberries, peaches. Not quite.
Yeah.
I think the temperature, the climate doesn't allow them to grow as you would see in North America, or maybe
Yeah.
they're kind of wild.
Hmm.
But it's a good experience, very different from the rest of the island.
Well,
Yes,
Susan.
so it's definitely something we used to see a lot more university groups, college groups. I think it's something that people should seriously look
Hmm.
at doing. And as I said, they can just get in touch with us. We at JCDT we don't organize tours to the Blue Mountain Peak like we would say on fifth or fourth Sunday or fourth weekend. We don't do that. What we say is if you have a group of friends or if you have a youth group, um, just get in touch with us. Tell us how many and so on, and we help you make the arrangements, all of the arrangements. You can stay with us at Portland Gap if you need for us to help you get someone to cook for you. We have improved, I'm sure, in your time when you went up in the 70s and 80s. You didn't have the kind of cooking facilities
Oh
that we
no.
have up there.
Mm-mm.
Very nice.
No, no.
No, we
We
had to
have
cook
nice
outside.
bench areas.
We
No,
use
man, we had to
stone.
cook
We
outside.
use stones and
Stone.
wood
Yeah.
We
outside.
cook on
Stones and
So
stone.
wood.
we have both the space to cook inside and outside, not in the cabins themselves. We have a kitchen area.
Hmm.
Okay.
We built up the outside cooking, so it's a built up area, so you don't even have to bend down over the ground, but it's still
Okay.
outside because I think that's part of the experience is
We
the outdoor cooking.
we did it the
Yeah, man.
yardman style.
We had
Stones
we
and
had to
wood.
bend down and cook.
Yeah, bend down with and cook. Yeah, the yardman style.
Yeah, so we have some little improvements, but nothing beats that cold shower. And then at the peak itself, some people are not very happy.
Oh,
We have taken down
unfortunately,
the old building that was really falling apart and could not be repaired. We have
unfortunately,
Yeah.
we
built a
never
different
shower until when we
shelter,
reach back down to the river. That's when we
right?
shower.
And also because that the peak itself is within the World Heritage Site, and
Hmm.
that is a very sensitive, ecologically sensitive area. We don't want people staying overnight and they start to get cold and want to cut down trees,
Hmm.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make fire and so on. So they are put up in the process of putting up a number of signs with some information that people can understand what it's all about, and
Okay.
that would definitely enhance the experience.
I didn't realize the peak was inside the
Yes,
World Heritage Site. Yeah, that is
yes. So
wonderful.
all of the central areas. In fact, I would say that Blue Mountain Peak Trail
Hmm.
hike was what won us the World Heritage Site
You keep
inscription.
There used to
you
be
keep
a
Because
bar up
I'll
there,
tell you,
Susan.
they send, it's a very difficult process,
Susan.
You don't just fill out an application form and send in a nomination.
Okay.
They have a variety of evaluators who go through documents and do all kind of research and ask you all kind of difficult questions. And one of the concerns that they had, and then they also send evaluators from abroad to come and you take them around the area. And one of the concerns that they had when they, that drive from before Mavis Bank, Gordon Town, Mavis Bank, going up
Mm,
to Hadley Gap, you do see a lot of deforestation. And you do
okay.
see a lot of hillsides that are just covered only in grass and that
Grass, yeah,
burn every year. And they
yeah.
also see a lot of Caribbean pine that was planted in the 70s. But although it says Caribbean, it's not from the Caribbean. They're actually from Honduras. We thought we
Okay.
would be able to harvest them for pine lumber, but it's too difficult to harvest.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, they're very susceptible to hurricane and fires. So the evaluators were not pleased when they saw some of those things because they're looking to see that you are the creme de la creme of nature. If it's a
Yeah,
natural heritage site that you're going for, you have
yeah.
to be really good quality. So because we actually had to go back to the drawing board, the first set of evaluators did not make it to the peak. I don't know what happened. I wasn't actually in Jamaica at the time, but I understand that there are so many other places that they visited when they saw the deforestation, when they saw the areas that had been burned, they said, no, we're not impressed. So the second time around, we made sure to explain that those areas are not within the national park. Those are people's private lands. And unfortunately, some of our agricultural practices are not so environmentally sustainable. So they were hemming and hawing and had some concerns. And I was beginning to feel a little bit depressed. And I was walking with them past Portland Gap. And then I said, let our park rangers just go with them. And then it started to rain. And I just continued walking slowly. And eventually the team was on its way back. So that day I didn't make it to the peak itself because I was going along very slowly and allowed them to go ahead. And they came back in the rain and they said, wow, this is it. You're definitely World Heritage Site
Quality, yeah,
and
right.
that was from the Blue Mountain Peak hike. As I said to you, when you look out from the trail, you see huge expanse of forest, just rolling hills. It's very strange the way the mountain has these peaks and then
Yes.
areas where just huge expanses of like rolling forest. You can't see no human habitation at all. It's just totally natural. And that was what really impressed them.
So Franco,
Yes, Flavius.
now you know that we are trailblazers, man.
Oh yes, I know that
We were
long
walk,
time.
we were walking it from the 60s and the 70s.
I remember.
Yeah,
I
And the
remember on the
interesting thing
peak.
is that trail is still very narrow.
Yeah, man,
very
That
very
true.
trail
narrow.
has not, gotten wide and there are many places you still have to walk almost single file.
I'm
Right,
gonna tell you
yeah.
So
something,
it's
Susan. That was one of the reasons why we usually go in the nights, because we
mm,
didn't want the newcomers to see how
Yeah,
small, narrow it was, and how
yeah,
and
steep it
frighten
was.
them.
Yeah, and how
yeah,
steep it was. Because the first time we
Mm,
yeah.
did it, we went up like about 12 o'clock, and trust me, we have people crying and holding
Yeah.
on and all manner of things. And I was like, never again. We're going to come back here so early. We're going to have to do it when it's
Yeah.
getting dark.
It's
So,
more for the experience. People
mhm.
who have the experience of hiking already. But
Yeah.
a lot of our Jamaicans don't have that experience.
Mm-mm.
So, but as we were talking earlier, a lot of the Europeans,
Oh, yeah,
Oh
they
yeah,
love
um,
they
it.
love
They love
you
it.
know,
yeah.
that they love that.
Yeah.
And some of the North Americans too. It's just that it's not so much the North Americans that we currently have
No.
as visitors. It's a different market, but they're very into it.
Yeah.
You know who the type of person we just started last year a trail project with the U.S. Peace Corps and
Okay.
people like that, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
who enjoy the outdoors
They're very
and a little bit of
adventurous.
a strenuous
Come on, they walk
sport.
anywhere. Yeah. They
They're
walk.
very adventurous. So the Peace Corps will do
Yes,
that. Yeah.
yes. So there is something for everyone though, because you know some people also enjoy staying in the local communities, in their guest houses, and I think that is something good for
Oh, yeah.
our
It is.
tourism product that
Mm.
the local community members can really participate
Hmm.
in different ways. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be because the idea is not to have big hotels.
Hmm.
There are a couple of places there. Jabi is one who expanded recently in Penline Castle. And these are wooden structures, Israeli cabins, you
Yeah.
know, just um, simple accommodation because it's really more about the outdoors, you know, enjoying some good food. You know, they would just go out and harvest the food right there from the
Yeah.
community farm
Yeah.
and freshly prepared.
Yeah, man. Fresh food. Yeah. Nothing beat fresh food. Nothing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then your Blue Mountain coffee, or maybe you get hot chocolate.
Oh
Chocolate,
yeah.
chocolate,
Oh, yeah.
chocolate tea,
Yeah.
man. I'm
Or you
longing for
get
some
some.
of that. I'm longing for
Or
some
you
of
get
that
some.
chocolate tea.
Or you get some whiskey.
I'm longing for the
And about
chocolate tea. Get my tongue burned.
all
It's
farm whiskey. Yeah.
been a
All
while.
farmer
It's
Yeah.
been a
whiskey.
while. It's been a while.
Mm.
Well, Susan,
Yeah.
if you have touched everything that you think you have touched so far, then we have passed our 2 hour mark. And we don't know what your day set for what you're going to be doing for the rest of the day, but we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and for being here with us and to explain to our listeners what exactly the Blue Mountain and the John Crow Mountain and all the conservative things that is going on in your
Thank you.
fields.
Let us talk because I think that we could work with you.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
We could work. I'm just saying we need to continue to keep in touch,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Okay.
look forward to the opportunities we'll organize.
We're definitely going to
Oh,
keep in touch
wonderful.
because, as I said, an idea came to me, and I want to, say it to you, mention it to you and Flavius.
Okay.
Okay, so great. We will talk. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from your listeners, you know, when they reach out to us at www.blueandjohncrowmountains.org. They can also check our Facebook and Instagram, Blue Mountains Jamaica, Blue and John Crow Mountains Jamaica, and email us at jamaicaconservation@gmail.com. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
very
too.
much.
Flavius, I think
Yes.
it's that time
Yes.
for us to get out of here.
Yes.
So I want to
Take care.
tell all my listeners continue to exercise your social distancing. Always remember to pray because prayer do changes things regardless of what religion you belong to. Continue praying. So until next week, when we do it all over again with some interesting guests. This is Franco.
And this is Flavius saying bye for now as we take ourselves from here.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know I said me if it could flee. Me have to take away me say. Me have to take away me say. Me have to hide like a thief in the night. Me have to get out of sight. Me have to take away myself. Have to take away myself. I have to utilize I wings. Surely I clean where I ease. I said, yeah. I find you very hard to resist. But this relationship I'm gonna desist. But how can I face you when all I wanna do is just taste you? I know you think I play me, but soon you're gonna see the light of day. Just relax, don't move an inch. I'll be gone in a pinch. May I feel take away myself. May I feel take away myself. May I feel hide like a thief in the night. May I forget out of sight. May I feel take away myself. Take away myself. I have to utilize I weeds. Sure the eye a clean pair of heels. I said, yeah, yeah. Been there, done that, don't need it again, yeah. I'm not a masochist who won't play your game, yeah. To how you move you off me way to the core. Sayonara, the hot girl gone through the door. Take away ourselves. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Say no goodbye, girl, let me take me ourselves. Take me ourselves. No goodbye, girl, let me take me ourselves.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless. Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.